Hello everyone and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host, Stan Rattan, and this is the Blue Collar Wine Show, where I try to help you spend your wine dollars wisely. How do I do that? Well, I review the wines, I taste them, I review them, grade them, and then it's up to you. I review, it's up to you. It's your palate. I'm kind of excited about today because March is Washington Wine Month, and I've done this before on my YouTube channel. Since I'm in Washington, might as well recognize Washington Wine Month. They actually have two Washington Wine Months. They have one in March and one in August. And March was the original Washington Wine Month, and I finally have succumbed to the August thing. But you know, Washington Wine Month is just a month to recognize Washington wines and what they're all about. And, you know, basically that's it. I mean, California's been doing it a long time. New York has been doing wines for a long time. And, you know, even Oregon has an Oregon Wine Month, I believe, is in, I think it's in May. I believe it's in May. I could be wrong, but I think it's in May. I'm excited because what I'm going to focus on is the diversity of Washington wines. In other words, in Washington, a state, they can grow more varieties well than any other state that I know about. And that's, you know, I haven't done solid research on that, but it seems that I've talked to many different winemakers and many different people, and the consensus is that Washington is one of the most diverse winemaking states in the United States. You can make Grenache, you can do good Grenache, good Carignan, good Mourvedre, you can do good Cab Franc, excellent Merlot, of course, Syrah, Cab, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Riesling, Gruner Veltliner. They're all wines that succeed and do well in Washington State. And that's just not, I'm not even naming all of them, but that's just many of the different wine varietals that do well in this state. Now there are other countries that do a boatload of wines. Italy is a classic example. But how many of those varietals are really recognizable to people, and how many can they do really well? Italy does a good job. Spain does a pretty good job on many of theirs, of course. France. But Washington, just as a small state in the State of the Union, really can produce some outstanding wines. And a couple of the wines that I've pointed out many times on this program is Syrah and Merlot are very outstanding in Washington State. Of course, they do many others well, but Syrah in particular does tremendous in this state. And so we're going to do 3 Syrahs, and we're going right to the big boys. Because, you know, why not? First episode of Washington Wine Month. Now, I'm not going to do all the episodes this month on Washington wines, but I am going to do quite a few just to show, again, the diversity of the wines. So we're going to get started right off with the Bunnell Family Cellars VIF 2008 Columbia Valley, and this is 60% Syrah, 30% Mourvedre, and 10% Petite Syrah. So we're going to start out with a blend, and then we're going to go into straight Syrahs. Ron Bunnell is an incredible, iconic winemaker in Washington State, very respected, almost lost that. And he has consulted for many wineries. I believe Alder Ridge is one of them. I wrote this down somewhere just so I can jar my memory. Nope, don't have it. Sorry about that. Anyway, Alder Ridge is one of them. He works with Precept, so he's done some, and he's very well known. He consults actually for a lot of different wineries. A lot of people go to him looking for advice. Very well respected. $33 for this blend. Let's see what we get on the nose. So I get a lot of tobacco, a lot of coffee bean coming through on this. Almost a tar element, but without the tar, without the pungent smell. Definitely currants coming through, and yeah, mostly currants. Maybe just a little bit of boysenberry coming through on this one. Let's see what we get on the palate. Very well made wine. Good acid, but it's very well integrated in with the fruit. I get a little bit of currants, a lot of cherries on the palate, which is interesting. I thought I was getting cherries on the nose, not so much so as on the palate. Very much a red cherry, currants. I get a little bit of blackberry coming through, boysenberry, blackberry. Very soft tannins. I mean, this is a very soft, but structured. I love wine when it's soft and approachable, but you can tell this baby's going to age. There's no doubt about it. This has great aging potential. I'm getting a little bit of tobacco on the finish, even a little hint of red licorice, but it's not candied. It just has that little bit of that flavor of red licorice to it. That tar element comes through. Get a little bit of petrol on the back side of the finish. Excellent wine. Superb wine. I hate to dump it out, but I'm going to. Bunnell, fantastic winemaker, 33 bucks. It's worth every penny of that. And you could put this away. It's very drinkable now, but you could put it away for 5 to 10 years and it would definitely evolve. And the reason I say that, and you might ask this question, how does he know? How does one know how long? Well, if it has the fruit, if it has the acid, if it has the structure, all those things, in other words, there's nothing flabby about this wine, you know that all those together will integrate even more and make it a better wine. So 5, 8, 10 years, I would go for 5 and try this again, and it is going to be even better. Great bottle of wine. I'm going to go A- on that. Now let's move on to the next one. Chris Sparkman, I interviewed him on my channel, I think last year, in the summertime. Character, I love the guy, love Chris. By the way, I'm going to review your Old Porch Rosé again. I think it was maybe had been open a little too long last time. So this is Sparkman Cellars Ruckus Syrah Red Mountain 2012. And it goes for $48, so it's, you know, not small change. It got 92 points, Wine Spectator. I'm not into points so much as grades, but you know, that just shows it's getting some respect from the press. Let's see what we get on the nose. Sparkman wines are incredible. I've had them in the past, always thought they were really good. Let's see what we get on the nose. A lot of violets. I'm getting a ton of violets with tobacco. Definitely a currant element. I'm getting some black plum coming through. Very perfumed. I mean, this is like a... When I say perfumed, I mean like, you know, you buy perfume, it boosts up the aromas. You know how they're intensified with that alcohol? This has that kind of perfumey sort of element coming through. Very earthy. I like that about this wine. I mean, it actually has some baked earth notes to it. Let's see what we get on the palate. Incredible intensity on this wine, very deep. This is a deep, deep, deep wine. In other words, you get all these layers of, you've got plum, you've got boysenberry, you've got currants, you've got that tarish element, there's spice on the backside, a lot of like little white pepper notes coming through at the back end of this wine. Has that tarry kind of baked earth element that's there, but it's definitely not what I would call, there's no rusticity in this wine at all. It's very smooth and polished, but a lot of character. A little bit of leather and tobacco on the backside of this. The finish is amazing. It just keeps going on and on and on and on and on and on. I'm still tasting it. And a lot of like rose petal and lavender notes on the back end of this wine. Now, you know, I know some of you out there going, well, I want to treat myself to a wine. You know, $48 is a lot of money. Well, this is definitely a $48 wine. And it's worth every penny of it. And I'm going to say that in either of these because I'm not going with small potatoes here right off the bat because I do Syrah. And I was reading a satirical article on the price of wine, but I do agree with one point in that, you know, you put that much oak into a wine, you put that much good fruit. I mean, Red Mountain is probably some of the most, probably the premier spot, or becoming the premier spot for Washington fruit. And so they demand a higher price. So to get all those elements, to get the intensity, to get all that stuff, to get that longevity that this wine will age easily for another 10 years, just like the Bunnell, you know, they have to spend more money to get to that level. So we pay for it as the consumer. Really, really nice finish, baked earth flowers, currants, all that stuff going on. And just back to my point about the price of a wine. Someone may ask, can you tell the difference between this wine and a $10 or $15 Syrah? And I'd have to tell you yes. You definitely can tell the difference just in the intensity, the weight, everything about this wine really shows, you know, it's worth 48 bucks. So if you feel like springing, I'm going to go A on that wine. I think it's a very good wine. I think it's a really, I agree with the spectator. It's a great wine. Let's move on to the next one. This dude, Charles Smith, he has rocked the wine world in Washington State. He's a great marketer, but he's also very passionate about wine. He likes to make good wine, and he is responsible for all the K Vintners wines. Great label. This is the 2010 K Vintners Hidden Syrah, Northridge Vineyard, Wahluke Slope, Washington State, $75. 98 points, Parker. So you got the label there. Most of his information is on the back there. See that? I wrote down the Parker points. $75. Walla Walla, Washington. Charles Smith. Let's see what we get on the nose. Oops. Sorry. All right. If you want to know what chocolate smells on your wine, you need to get a whiff of this one. I don't know why I poured so much. This has chocolate all day. I get chocolate, coffee bean, boysenberry, currants, all there, big time on the nose. A little bit of tobacco, a little bit of vanilla. There's a vanilla element coming through. A little bit of rose petal on the back end. Very good aromatics on this wine. Let's see what we get on the palate. I wish you could be here tasting this wine with me. It's just the difference between the ruckus and the hidden from the hidden Syrah from Charles Smith. Love the ruckus, love the baked earth. This has more acidity to it, which is something I did not expect. I don't know why, I just didn't expect it. It's got more acidity. The red flowers really come through. This has great balance. It doesn't have the earth notes at the ruckus. They're very similar in intensity, but very different in style, which is very interesting. a lot of like, there's a lot of cherry notes with this, just a hint of smoke on the back end of this wine. That the acid is just a beam right across the fruit. It's like pushing it. It's like this beam of light right through the fruit. There's currants, there's boysenberries, there's blackberries, there's cherries. There's a nice kind of a tar element coming through. A lot of tobacco on this wine. This is a baby. This definitely is drinking fantastic now, but I would definitely give it easily 8 years from now. 8 years from now, open a bottle of this, and you are going to be so surprised at how it's evolved, how that acid is quieted down and enveloped the fruit. There's a lot of fruit on this. There's a lot of, I get that smoky, almost a little bacon fat coming through. But what I was really impressed with these wines, sometimes Syrahs from Washington State, I like this element in them, but they can really get like huge bacon fat, like big time. And neither one of these Syrahs go there. They go on more of the, this is more of the acid, this is more of the earth element. They're both really good in that way. The finish on this, the hidden, unbelievable. And the thing that comes through on the very back end of this wine is blueberry, which is a very interesting element for a component for a Syrah. I'm going to try these side by side right after the show. Both excellent. I'm going to go A+ on the hidden. Not saying that I wasn't sure what I was going to get. You know, sometimes I shy away. $75 Syrah. I always say the more expensive ones tend to get the more critical eye from myself. And I have a critical eye on this, but I'm very happy with the results. I agree with the Wine Advocate on this one. It's a very good Syrah, and it has great aging potential. So there you go, 3 Washington wines, kicking off Washington Wine Month on a Monday. Thanks for watching, and remember, wine is not a mystery. It is just fermented grape juice. Always be willing to expand your palate, but always be true to it. Know what you like, and never let anybody tell you what you should or shouldn't like. And if we do that together, we can take the snob out of wine.